Hello and welcome. Let's be honest for a moment. Does getting out of your favorite armchair or carrying in that one bag of groceries feel like more of a challenge than it used to? Do you find yourself hesitating before climbing a set of stairs you used to take two at a time? If you're nodding your head, please know you're not alone. This isn't just in your head. In fact, after the age of 50, we can lose up to 1 to 2% of our muscle mass every single year. And what's even more surprising, research shows our muscle strength can decline 2 to 5 times faster than that. It's a real, documented biological process. But what if I told you there's a powerful 8-hour window that most of us are completely ignoring? A time when your body is naturally primed to repair and rebuild that precious muscle. I'm talking about the time you spend asleep. And if you've been telling yourself, well, this is just a part of getting older, I am here today to respectfully challenge that idea. Because while aging is a fact of life, the rate of our decline is not set in stone. In the next 25 minutes, we're going on a deep dive. We're going to uncover 7 essential vitamins and minerals you can use during that nighttime window to fight back against muscle loss, reclaim your strength, and protect your independence for years to come. What we're talking about today is a medical condition called sarcopenia. It sounds complicated, but it's really not. It comes from the Greek words sarx for flesh and penia for loss. It's the age-related, progressive loss of muscle mass and, even more importantly, muscle strength. This isn't just about how you look in the mirror. This condition is so significant that in 2016, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, officially recognized sarcopenia as a specific disease. And the stakes are high. Sarcopenia is directly linked to a higher risk of falls, a loss of physical independence that can lead to needing more help with daily activities, and even more frequent hospitalizations. In fact, studies show that people with sarcopenia are around twice as likely to be hospitalized. But here's the empowering part. We can fight back. And our strategy begins by understanding that building and maintaining muscle is like building a house. You need the right materials, the right workers, and the right conditions. To make sure we're getting this right, we'll be drawing on research and guidelines from some of the most trusted names in health, including the National Institutes of Health, the Mayo Clinic, and dozens of studies published in top-tier medical journals. Here's our game plan. We're going to count down the 7 essential nighttime nutrients that form your muscle-building toolkit. We'll start with the foundational players and work our way up to the number 1 most powerful nutrient for overnight muscle repair. For each one, we'll talk about why it works in simple terms, give you a clear action step, and this is crucial, discuss when you absolutely should talk to your doctor. You'll definitely want to stick around for our top 3. Number 2 in particular is something a huge number of older adults are deficient in, and it's directly tied to your stability and risk of falling. And number 1 is the absolute game changer that makes this whole nighttime strategy possible. And of course, a quick but very important reminder, I am not a doctor. And this video is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional medical advice from your personal physician who knows your unique health history. Always consult with your healthcare provider before starting any new supplement regimen, especially if you have any underlying health conditions or are taking medications. Now, with that said, let's get started and lay the foundation for a stronger you. All right, let's kick off our countdown with number 7, a mineral we all associate with strong bones, calcium. But its role in our muscles is just as critical. If you think of your muscles as an engine, Calcium is the spark that ignites every single movement you make. Use the simple science of how it works. When your brain sends a signal to, say, stand up from your chair, that electrical signal travels down a nerve to your muscle. But for the muscle fiber to actually contract and create movement, it needs a chemical trigger. That trigger is a flood of calcium ions. The calcium rushes into the muscle cell, allowing the tiny protein filaments inside, called actin and myosin, to grab onto each other and pull. No calcium, no contraction. It's that direct. It's just like the starter in your car. You can have a full tank of gas and a perfect engine, but without that initial spark, the engine simply won't turn over. I think of my Aunt Carol. She was so focused on her bone density scans that she thought of calcium only in terms of her bones. But she would often complain about feeling sluggish, that her legs just wouldn't respond as quickly as she wanted them to. When her doctor pointed out that her dietary calcium intake was a bit low, she made a conscious effort to include more calcium-rich dairy and leafy greens in her diet. A few months later, she told me she felt quicker on her feet and more responsive. She didn't realize it at the time, but she was directly feeding the very mechanism of muscle activation. So your action step here is to focus on food first. The recommended daily amount for adults over 51 is 1,200 milligrams for women and for men over 70, and 1,000 milligrams for men between 51 and 70. Excellent sources are dairy products like plain yogurt, milk, and cheese. A single 8-ounce container of plain, non-fat yogurt can have nearly 500 milligrams of calcium, which is a huge step toward your daily goal. If you don't do dairy, that's okay. Look for fortified soy or almond milk, canned sardines or salmon where you eat the soft bones, and dark leafy greens like kale and bok choy. Now, it's very important to be smart about this. If you have a history of kidney stones, kidney disease, or certain parathyroid gland disorders, you must talk to your doctor before even thinking about taking a calcium supplement, as too much can be harmful. And this is critical. Calcium can interfere with the absorption of very common medications, including thyroid hormones like levothyroxine, certain antibiotics, and some blood pressure medications. Your doctor or pharmacist needs to help you create a schedule to time them correctly so they all work effectively. So we have the spark for muscle contraction. But what about the fundamental building blocks of the muscle itself? That brings us to a crucial helper mineral, coming in at number 6. Coming in at number 6 is a mineral that doesn't often get the spotlight, but it's absolutely essential for muscle repair: zinc. If we continue our house-building analogy, and protein is the bricks for building muscle, think of zinc as the skilled assistant on the construction crew, making sure those bricks are laid correctly and efficiently. Here's why it's so important. Zinc is a key player in a process called protein synthesis. That's the body's official term for building new proteins, including the ones that make up your precious muscle fibers. It's also a vital component of enzymes that help your body repair muscle tissue after the small amounts of damage that naturally occur from daily activities like walking or climbing stairs. A zinc deficiency, which is more common in older adults, can slow this entire repair process down to a crawl, meaning you could be breaking down muscle faster than you're rebuilding it. As an added bonus, some fascinating studies show that zinc also plays a role in regulating sleep, which, as we know, is our prime time for repair and recovery. I'm reminded of a friend of mine, a retired carpenter named Dave. He started noticing two things. He was getting sick more often, and the little cuts and scrapes he'd get from working in his woodshop were taking forever to heal. He just chalked it up to getting older. His doctor ran some routine blood work and found his zinc levels were on the low side, which can impact both immune function and wound healing. He started making a point to eat more zinc-rich foods, and not only did his healing improve, but he also mentioned to me that he was sleeping more soundly through the night, a benefit he hadn't expected at all. Your action step for zinc is straightforward. The recommended daily intake for older adults is 14 milligrams for men and 8 milligrams for women. The good news is you can easily get this from your diet. The best and most easily absorbed sources are animal-based, like red meat, poultry, and especially oysters, which are packed with zinc. A single 3-ounce serving of beefsteak can give you about half of your daily need. But you can also find good amounts in plant-based foods like pumpkin seeds, beans, nuts, and fortified breakfast cereals. Now for the red flags. While getting zinc from food is perfectly safe, you need to be careful with high-dose supplements. Taking more than 40 milligrams of supplemental zinc per day over the long term is not recommended, as it can actually interfere with your body's absorption of another important mineral, copper, and can lead to issues like nausea and stomach pain. Zinc supplements can also interact with certain antibiotics and diuretics. So, if you're taking any of these medications, a conversation with your doctor is an absolute must before you start supplementing. Okay, so our construction crew has its spark plug in calcium and a skilled assistant in zinc. But what about the constant low-level fire that can sabotage all their hard work? Let's talk about the great inflammation firefighter, coming in at number 5. At number 5, we have omega-3 fatty acids. We often hear about them for keeping our heart and brain healthy, but their role in preserving our muscle is just as profound. In our house-building analogy, they are your body's internal firefighters, and their main job in this context is to combat chronic, low-grade inflammation. Here's the science made simple. The process of aging is often associated with a state of chronic, body-wide inflammation. You can think of it as a constant, smoldering fire inside your body. You may not feel it acutely, but it's there. This inflammation produces signals, molecules called pro-inflammatory cytokines, that have a direct catabolic or breakdown effect on your muscles. They actively get in the way of muscle protein synthesis, essentially telling your body not to build muscle. This is where omega-3s, particularly the two known as EPA and DHA, come to the rescue. They are powerful anti-inflammatory agents. When you consume them, they get incorporated into your cell membranes and help your body produce compounds that literally resolve or turn off that smoldering inflammation. By quenching that fire, they create a much healthier, more favorable environment for your muscles to actually respond to signals to repair and grow. My own mother, who has arthritis, used to complain about a general feeling of achiness and stiffness, not just in her joints, but in her muscles as well. She thought it was all just her arthritis acting up. Her doctor suggested she increase her intake of fatty fish. After a few months of consistently eating salmon twice a week, she was surprised that not only did her joints feel a bit better, but her muscles felt less sore and tired. After a day of gardening, she was taming that underlying inflammation without even realizing how much it was affecting her muscles. Your action step is one that your heart will thank you for as well. The American Heart Association recommends eating at least 2 servings of fatty fish per week. A serving is about 3 ounces cooked. The absolute best sources of the powerful EPA and DHA are cold water fatty fish, like salmon, mackerel, herring, sardines, and tuna. Plant-based sources like flaxseed, chia seeds, and walnuts are wonderful for your health, but they contain a different type of omega-3 called ALA. Your body has to convert ALA into EPA and DHA, And frankly, it's not very good at it. So for muscle benefits, fatty fish is your best bet. And here is a very important red flag. This is a big one, because omega-3s can have a mild blood thinning effect if you are taking any anticoagulant or antiplatelet drugs. That includes prescription medications like warfarin, also known as Coumadin, or even a daily low-dose aspirin. You absolutely must speak with your doctor before starting fish oil supplements. High doses, which are typically considered over 3 grams per day, can increase the risk of bleeding when combined with these medications. All right, we've put out the fires that cause breakdown. Now, let's bring in the heavy machinery to power up our muscles. And that brings us to our mid-script recap. Okay, let's just take a quick breath. We're more than halfway through our countdown, and you're doing great. So far, we've talked about calcium, the essential spark for every single movement. We've covered zinc, the skilled assistant that helps with the process of building muscle. And we just discussed omega-3s, the crucial firefighters that quell the inflammation that tries to tear muscle down. A common thread here is that these are all part of a team. You can't just hire one worker and expect to build a house. You need the whole crew working together. Are you ready for the top 4? This is where we get into the real power players for your strength, your sleep, and your stability. And by the way, if you're finding this information valuable and empowering, it would mean the world to me if you'd take just a half second to tap that like button below. It's a small click for you, but it tells the folks at YouTube that this is important information, and it helps other people, just like you, find our community. Thank you so much for that. Now, let's get back to it. Kicking off our top 4 is a supplement that you might associate with young bodybuilders pumping iron at the gym. But the science is incredibly strong and compelling for older adults. It's creatine. If our muscles are an engine, creatine is the high-octane fuel that provides immediate, powerful energy for short bursts of effort. Here's the simple science. Your muscles run on a type of energy currency called ATP. For quick, powerful movements, like standing up from a low sofa, catching yourself from a stumble, or lifting a heavy grandchild, your body needs a way to regenerate that ATP currency very, very fast. Creatine is stored in your muscles as something called phosphocreatine, which is essentially a tiny, ready-to-go battery. It can instantly donate its phosphate group to rapidly recharge ATP, giving you that critical burst of strength and power when you need it most. As we age, our natural creatine stores can decline. Supplementing with it essentially tops off that fuel tank, allowing for better performance in the resistance training that builds muscle, and providing the power for daily life. This connects directly to one of the biggest concerns for seniors: falls. Many falls don't happen because of a general lack of strength, but because of an inability to react quickly and powerfully to a sudden loss of balance. Creatine specifically fuels the exact type of fast-twitch muscle action needed to plant your foot and prevent a simple stumble from becoming a serious, life-altering fall. I'll tell you about my neighbor, Frank. He's 72 and loves to garden. He started a simple strength training program his doctor recommended, but he felt like he had hit a plateau. He just didn't have the oomph to add a little more weight or do one more repetition. After talking with his doctor, he started taking a low dose of creatine monohydrate. He told me, "It's not like I'm a superhero all of a sudden, but I can now do that extra repetition. I feel more solid on my feet when I'm carrying a heavy bag of soil." That solid feeling he described is the real-world benefit of having more power on tap. Your action step here is to consider the most studied and effective form, which is creatine monohydrate. A common, safe, and effective maintenance dose for older adults is 3 to 5 grams per day. You don't necessarily need the high-dose loading phase you often hear about with athletes. The key is consistency. You can mix the powder with water or juice. And please remember, creatine works best when it's paired with resistance training. The supplement gives you the energy to do the work, and the work is what ultimately builds the muscle. Now for the non-negotiable red flag. If you have any history of kidney disease or impaired kidney function, you must talk to your doctor before even considering creatine. While it's considered very safe for healthy kidneys, it does put a small extra burden on them to clear its natural byproduct called creatinine. Also, make sure you stay well hydrated, as creatine helps your muscles hold onto water. So creatine gives us the power. But what good is power if our muscles are tight, cramping, and we can't get the restorative sleep needed for repair? Let's talk about the master of relaxation, coming in hot at number 3. Our number 3 essential nutrient is magnesium. And if calcium is the on switch for muscle contraction, magnesium is the off switch. It is the great relaxer. Its role for us is twofold. It relaxes your muscles directly, and it calms your nervous system to promote the deep, restorative sleep your body desperately needs to rebuild. Let's break down the science. First, inside the muscle itself, magnesium acts as a natural calcium blocker. After calcium has rushed in to cause a contraction, magnesium helps to usher it out, allowing the muscle fibers to release and relax. When magnesium levels are low, calcium can hang around too long, leading to those frustrating cramps, spasms, and feelings of muscle tightness. Second, and just as important for our nighttime strategy, is magnesium's role in the brain. It helps to calm the entire nervous system by binding to and activating what are called GABA receptors. These are the same receptors targeted by some anti-anxiety medications. Activating them helps to quiet down brain activity, easing you into sleep. It also helps your body regulate the production of melatonin, your natural sleep hormone. Better, deeper sleep means a longer, more effective window for muscle protein synthesis to do its job. A woman in my book club, Susan, was constantly complaining about two things: that jumpy, restless feeling in her legs at night, and waking up at 3 a.m. feeling wired and unable to get back to sleep. She felt tired all the time, and her muscles always felt tense. Her doctor found that her dietary magnesium intake was low, which is incredibly common. Some reports suggest that 70 to 80% of adults over the age of 70 don't get enough magnesium from their diet. She started taking a magnesium glycinate supplement about an hour before bed. After a few weeks, she reported that the restless feeling in her legs had calmed down significantly, and she was sleeping through the night far more often. She felt more rested, which in turn gave her more energy for her daily walks. Your action step. The recommended daily intake is 420 milligrams for men and 320 milligrams for women over 51. You can and should get magnesium from your diet. Great sources include leafy greens like spinach, nuts like almonds and cashews, seeds, beans, and whole grains. However, because it's so critical for sleep, this is one nutrient where a supplement can be particularly helpful at night. Many people find that magnesium glycinate is the best form to take before bed. It's a form that is bound to the amino acid glycine, which also has calming properties, making it very well absorbed and gentle on the stomach. A typical dose is around 200 to 350 milligrams, taken about an hour before you plan to go to sleep. And the red flags are familiar. Just like with creatine, if you have kidney problems, you must consult your doctor, as your kidneys are responsible for clearing any excess magnesium. The tolerable upper limit for supplemental magnesium for most adults is 350 milligrams per day to avoid side effects like diarrhea, which is the most common one. Magnesium can also interact with certain antibiotics, diuretics, and heart medications. So a full review of your medications with your provider is absolutely essential. We've got the power, and we've got the relaxation and sleep. Now, let's talk about the nutrient that acts as the master foreman of the entire construction site, a vitamin that is directly linked to strength and stability. This is our crucial number 2. At the number 2 spot, we have the sunshine vitamin, vitamin D. We all know it's crucial for helping us absorb calcium and for keeping our bones strong, but that's only half the story. Your muscles themselves are studded with vitamin D receptors. It acts like a master key, unlocking your muscles' potential to grow stronger and function properly. Here's why it's so vital. Vitamin D works on multiple levels to support your muscles. First, it directly stimulates muscle protein synthesis, sending a signal to your muscle cells to build more protein. Second, it improves the function of your existing muscle fibers, particularly the fast-twitch fibers. These are the fibers responsible for quick, powerful movements, the very ones that help you catch your balance and prevent a fall. Third, it helps to regulate the transport of calcium within the muscle, which, as we learned with our number 7 nutrient, is the essential spark for every contraction. It's no surprise, then, that a deficiency in vitamin D is directly and strongly linked to muscle weakness, a higher risk of developing sarcopenia, and a significantly increased risk of falls. I remember my own father. He lived up in the Northeast and was always diligent about his health, but every winter he just seemed more unsteady on his feet. He had a minor fall one year, and while thankfully he didn't break anything, it really shook his confidence. His doctor tested his vitamin D levels and found they were very low, which is extremely common in older adults, especially during the winter months, or for anyone who doesn't get a lot of direct sun exposure. He started a doctor-recommended supplement regimen. The next winter, he just seemed more planted, as he put it. He walked with more confidence, and that nagging fear of falling began to fade. He was directly addressing a key biological reason for his instability. Your action step for vitamin D is to get tested. It is very difficult to get enough vitamin D from food alone. While it's found in fatty fish, egg yolks, and fortified foods like milk and cereal, the amounts are generally small. Our main source is supposed to be sunlight, but as we age, our skin becomes much less efficient at making it, and we rightly spend less time in direct sun to protect our skin. This is why supplementation is often necessary. The recommended dietary allowance for adults over 70 is 800 IU per day, but many experts and studies suggest that higher doses may be needed to correct a deficiency. The only way to know for sure what you need is to ask your doctor for a simple blood test to check your 25-hydroxy vitamin D levels. For the red flags, it is absolutely possible to take too much vitamin D. Doses above 4,000 IU per day taken long-term can lead to toxicity, which causes dangerously high blood calcium levels. Vitamin D can also interact with several common medications, including some statins for cholesterol, thiazide diuretics for blood pressure, and certain heart medications like digoxin. It is absolutely critical to discuss supplementation with your doctor to find the right, safe dose for your body. And that brings us to number 1. We have the spark, the assistants, the firefighters, the power source, the relaxation expert, and the master foreman. Now, we need the most important thing of all, the actual building materials, delivered slowly and steadily all night long. This is the cornerstone of our entire nighttime strategy. And here we are at the number 1 spot. The single most important and effective nutrient for our nighttime muscle-building strategy is a specific type of protein, casein. If you've ever had a protein shake, you've probably heard of whey. Whey is known as the fast protein, great for right after a workout. Casein is its slow and steady cousin, and for our purposes, that's its superpower. This is the most important scientific concept of our entire discussion. As we get older, our muscles can become what scientists call anabolically resistant. This means they don't respond as well to the muscle-building signals from protein as they used to. At the same time, the 8 or so hours you're asleep is the longest you go without food, and it can be a highly catabolic period, a time of significant muscle breakdown. This is where casein works its magic. When you consume a food rich in casein, like milk or cottage cheese, it forms a gel or a clot in the acidic environment of your stomach. This means it digests very, very slowly, releasing its amino acids, the building blocks of muscle, into your bloodstream, not in a quick rush, but over a period of up to 7 or 8 hours. Think about that. You're giving your body a steady drip feed of building materials all night long. This does two amazing things. It stops the muscle breakdown that would normally happen during a long fast, and it provides the fuel needed to actively stimulate muscle protein synthesis while you sleep. Multiple studies in older adults have shown that taking 20 to 40 grams of casein before bed significantly increases overnight muscle protein synthesis rates, tipping the balance from breakdown to building. A gentleman I know, a retired teacher, was doing everything right. He was eating protein with every meal and doing his resistance exercises, but he still felt like he was losing ground. He read about this pre-sleep protein concept and decided to try it. He started having a small bowl of cottage cheese, which is packed with casein, about 30 minutes before he went to bed. He told me that after a month, he didn't magically feel 20 years younger, but he felt fuller in his muscles, and his recovery after a long walk or a day working in the yard was noticeably better. He was giving his body the exact materials it needed, right when it was most ready to do its repair work. Your number one action step from this entire video is this. Aim for 20 to 40 grams of casein protein about 30 to 60 minutes before bed. And you don't have to buy a fancy powder, though they are convenient. The best whole food source, hands down, is cottage cheese. 1 cup of low-fat cottage cheese can pack over 25 grams of protein, the vast majority of which is slow-digesting casein. Greek yogurt is another excellent choice, with a single serving container providing around 22 grams. A simple bowl of cottage cheese or Greek yogurt before you turn in for the night is the most powerful takeaway today. The red flags are straightforward. Casein is a milk protein, so if you have a true milk allergy, you must avoid it completely. If you are lactose intolerant, you might find that the fermentation process in Greek yogurt or certain cottage cheeses makes them easier to digest, but listen to your body. And as with any strategy that involves increasing your protein intake, if you have impaired kidney function, you need to be working closely with your doctor to manage your total daily protein safely. And there you have it, the complete crew of 7 essential nutrients to turn your sleep into a muscle-building powerhouse. As we've seen today, fighting back against age-related muscle loss isn't about finding one single magic pill. It's about a smart, synergistic strategy. It's about understanding that your body has an incredible innate capacity to repair itself, and our job is simply to give it the right tools at the right time. We've talked about providing the spark for movement with calcium. The most important message I want you to take away from our time together today is this. You are not a passive bystander in your own aging process. You are the chief executive of your own health. These small, intelligent choices you make every day, and now every night, add up to a profound difference in your strength, your stability, and most importantly, your ability to live a full, independent, and vibrant life for many years to come. Now, I truly want to hear from you. Which of these 7 nutrients was the biggest aha moment for you? Was it the idea of using a slow protein at night? Or perhaps the role of magnesium in both sleep and muscle relaxation? Please, take a moment and leave a comment down below. I read every single one, and your experiences and questions help our entire community learn and grow together. If you enjoyed this deep dive and you want more practical, science-backed content to help you take control of your health as you age, please be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the little notification bell so you don't miss our next video. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Be good to yourself, stay strong, and remember that your best years can still be ahead of you. I'll see you in the next video.